Steve, welcome to Click.
Well, nice to be here. We don't get this back in the States, I don't think.
I'll send you a DVD.
Is there a URL?
Yeah, I'll give it to you
good.
in a minute. So you are an engineer at heart, aren't you? You are the stereotypical engineer who actually seems to be up to his arms in silicon all the time.
I made myself and told myself that that's what I would be for my entire life, that I appreciated and respected it the most back when I was 20, forming my life's philosophies. And now I'm not really able to be the same kind of engineer I was back then or the same kind I had in mind. Engineering is important to me. Engineers and geeks are special people to me. The way they think, what they do, it's the interesting things in life. They're a lot more interesting than the CEO who has done all the most amazing business deals. I could care less. But to some extent, I get involved with, after Apple, starting a lot of small startup companies and working with them. And to some extent, I have to use a little bit of marketing and management oversight, too.
How is tinkering, innovating, inventing different now to how it was in the 70s?
Yes. Different things. It turns out that because computers have grown up so much, that hooking chips together and making something significant isn't the way it's done anymore. Products are made with, one chip has all of the circuitry inside of it. But because our mind wants us to explore and create and discover new things and solve puzzles, young kids especially, they still want to go out. They've got that inner drive. It's like a social drive. And I want to prove myself. I want to do these certain things. Well, now you get your Facebook and you set up the page your way and you put your music in. There's so much creativity we've given to people with computers. Make your own little videos and put them onto YouTube. Publish them. That's the next step. So the world is wide open to creativity right now in a lot of ways that don't wind up products necessarily like when I was there.
So it's more about services now. It's applications on top of the hardware. You built the hardware.
Yeah.
So is it now
but there are still a lot of builders, some are older, some are younger, that will build everything from robots and do the metal machining work and hook up the chips and write the software.
Is it possible to change the world that way now? Huh? I mean, as you say, the chip, everything on a chip is now so minute, you can't do it in your bedroom or in your garage.
I know, but you can buy a nice little microprocessor for $1, and that's, instead of having to build the processor, you now own the whole computer for $1. You build from there out.
Take us back to the day then, back to the start of Apple. What was it like back then?
It was a total revolution. We felt that we were creating this, and fortunately, we had this incredible technology already developed, thanks to me, which was the computer. We didn't have to go seek money with ideas on paper of something we could do. We had it in front of us. We were telling the world, look at this. This is going to change the world. And then the big companies, IBMs and Hewlett-Packards, were saying no. I got turned down by Hewlett-Packard 5 times where I worked. I wanted them to do it.
You regret that now?
Yeah, I wanted them to do it. Yeah, the vice president that signed it off remembers it well. But the big companies were saying, no, it's going to be small time. The hobby is just working with a couple tools at home, kind of like building your little models, It's just going to be a small thing. And that fired us up even more. No, we're going to change life for everyone. The little 10-year-old kids are going to be programming better than the guys who make, tens of thousands of dollars in salary for the big companies. And the guy who knows how to program is going to be worth more than the CEO. And we're going to, groups that want to march are going to be able to organize because they'll share their messages on computer systems. I mean, we had all these great social goals. And that's why nobody left Apple in the first couple of years, because we knew we had such an extremely great product that it was going to, have that kind of change to the world, and it did.
You mentioned that you like being the engineer. You don't want to be the CEO into marketing and changing the world, standing up on a stage with a black roll-up sweater and blue jeans. I mean, that was obviously the difference between you and Steve Jobs from the beginning, I take it.
Well, he wasn't an engineer or a programmer, but he had this incredibly great understanding of it. He had worked in technical stuff, building devices with chips that did digital things, not quite at the engineering level, but right one step below it. And he understands it. You have to, if you're a manager and you're a businessman, you're much more valuable than a great engineer if you can spot who the great engineer is. That's more important. And Steve wouldn't put up for schlocky. The guys who did average junk, he could recognize it. And the guys who did the great stuff, like myself, he could recognize that. And he only wanted to go with the greatest that was possible.
Did he only want to go with computers, or if he had the talent to spot something else? If you hadn't come along, if he couldn't find a great engineer, would he have gone off and invented some kind of ice cream or a car or something?
Yeah, Steve had this drive to be one of the great people that really changed the world. So it wouldn't have been just ice cream. It would have been he wanted to be one of those great people that really takes the world on a new course. And that was his dream his whole life. And sometimes your dream is what you wind up doing.
Has he made it, in your opinion, now?
Yes. Oh yeah, absolutely. Nobody could question that in a whole number of ways, a number of different ways. And, and he stayed on top of Apple. And Apple, I think, is the best thing he's ever done. And certainly that's the start. Once you get a big start, you have a lot of revenues and monies and forthwithal, and you have a lot of people, recognizing you, and you're able to take other great risks.
What do you make of Apple today, 30 years on, or however long it is from when you guys really started the project? You look at Apple, what do you think of it now?
I'm amazed that it's so well respected in a lot of ways. The fact that people in the early days loved our products, and the other ones, they only bought them if they didn't have enough money. That's still the case to this day. The products are still excellent, and they're ones that you'd be proud of. I wouldn't be proud of just, my company has made this huge number of computers over the years. No, every one of them was so special, and so I'm very proud of Apple. So,
If you look at Apple products, they're very much a combined hardware-software solution. That, in my opinion, is what gives them the reliability. The Apple operating system works so well because it only works with Apple hardware, the iPod, iTunes. Is that the way to be successful in technology, to kind of lock it all down, tie it all up? So
nobody knows for sure. Nobody knows for sure. Even Steve says he doesn't know. Maybe we should have just licensed our operating system. The operating system was such a beautiful gem, so much better than the software Microsoft had. But Microsoft, with just software, sort of traded places with Apple, having the huge hardware revenues, and they went up, and exceeded us. So
Microsoft spread it about to anyone.
So you could have your doubts either way. But one thing Apple does is, what a person wants is not a certain number of chips. It's not a certain type of hardware, not necessarily a certain type of software. You want human things, like I want music to my ear. Well, with the Macintosh, it's so easy. Apple has the iTunes Store. They make the hardware. They make the operating system. They make the application iTunes. And it's all invisible into the computer from the time I select a song. And then when I plug in my iPod, it's on the iPod.